Next up, we have Mukunda Raghavan with some reflective remarks. Mukundji's educational background is a mix of political science, criminology, psychology, Sanskrit, and philosophy. He received his Juris Doctorate in law from Boston University and was simultaneously working on his master's in philosophy, focusing on continental philosophy. He has practiced as a prosecutor in New York City, a general counsel and operating officer of a healthcare company in Southern California, a head of business and operations for a legal tech company in India, and is now in strategy and development. Much like his career, Mukund's intellectual interest and knowledge is varied. He is interested in Indian and Western philosophy, world mythology, quantum physics, consciousness studies, psychology, and a variety of other fields. Mukund is also one of the hosts for the popular Brown Pundits podcast and was a student leader of the Hindu Students' Council during his college days. Mukundji, take it away.
Thank you so much. Are you guys able to hear me? I hope so. Good afternoon and good evening to all of you. And that depends on where you're joining us from. If you're joining us from the West Coast or East Coast, thank you. My name is Mukunda Raghavan. I'm sometimes a lawyer, sometimes amateur Hindu expert-ish. Sometimes I'm a podcaster with the Brown Pundits or Meru Media. But more importantly, I'm a Hindu and a human being. I'm deeply honored and privileged that the organizers of this event, Dr. Indu Vishwanathan and Parth Parihar, along with the HSC Council, thought enough of me to think I was worthy to speak to all of you today. I'm not sure it's warranted, but I'm going to do my best, and I feel deeply honored. Today, we have heard from scholars, experts, and practitioners about hate, fear, ignorance, and anger directed towards Hindus and Hinduism, which we call Hinduphobia. Until recently, to be honest, I don't think I really understood how deeply this ignorance and fear of Hindus and Hinduism stemmed into the world around us. So I grew up in the US in the 1980s when all the people thought of Hindus was that, and India, honestly, was that we worship cows. We are all castes and we eat curry. I mean, I guess that much hasn't changed in terms of public perception of Hindus in 40 years. And I grew up watching Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where Kali was, and in many ways still is in the popular view, considered the goddess of evil and destruction, where the colonial tropes of thuggies was kept alive, and where natives were kind of backward, poor, and broken. So I also grew up wearing a nama, right? So a tilak, you guys would call North India tilak, is Sricharan in South India, sometimes to school, which I remember as soon as, this is like a vivid memory for me when my amma dropped me off at school, I tried to rub it off because inevitably people would ask me, are you okay? Is your forehead bleeding, right? And that's kind of, when you're a kid, that's a little jarring. And I went to a public school, so that's even, you get a little more diversity there. So people don't understand that. I went to public school until all my life until I went to high school, in which I went to Catholic school, which was the only good school around. It was Monterey High School in Southern California. So around this time, around when I was 14 to 18, I sort of actively kept away from Hinduism, identifying as Hindu, but it wasn't like a full distance. I just couldn't, right? Because I lived at home with my parents. And my parents would force me to do my prayers, my Sandhya Vandanam, every day, right? So like, 30, 40 minutes of prayers every day. But it was definitely a mental and psychological separation. I mean, being Hindu made me feel different. I stood out, I was different. And I desperately wanted to fit in, especially at the time in my life where all my life so far I've been different, and I was being picked on and bullied, and for not being Christian, not being part of like American culture, not Western, it's just being different. So I'm not sure how different it is now for the kids today growing up, but in some ways it does appear to me to be more, at least superficially, more of an inclusive world. And I just say that superficially, I'm sure there's a lot more undercurrents going here. I found my way back to my roots in probably like my late high school years when I finally read the Bhagavad Gita. And really that started my deep curiosity and dive into the vast cosmos of Hinduism. So in college, I used to spend hours in libraries at both UC Riverside and Irvine, where I went, both of them. And I would just dive into learning as much as I could about Hindu history, philosophy, texts. It just drew me in. And I was blown away by its complexity and vastness. And in that time period, I also jumped deeply into my own sampradaya of Sri Vaishnavism, developed by Ramanuja in the 10th century, right, 11th century. I spent time learning with amazing scholars and contact people, and just trying to soak in as much as humanly possible. But it was in college, really, the first time I really started interacting with Hindus as Hindus, right? While I did grow up going to temples and singing Carnatic music and learning some Bharatanatyam and all of that, in many ways it was only cultural and artistic, right? I didn't understand the depth behind it, and even I didn't have anyone to speak about it with. So in college, 21 years ago, time flies, 1999, right? I first found out about and joined HSC at UCI. So this was the first time ever I can honestly recall really meeting other people who wanted to learn about Hinduism and kind of explore it. Some people knew some people knew nothing, but it was a place where everyone just got together to learn from each other. So immediately upon joining HSC, people would think, that the current idea is you have to swear allegiance to BJP and RSS. Nothing like that, right? Nothing like that. Despite what many people seem to think about HSC or Hindu groups in general, it was actually HSC that helped me learn more about the diversity of thought within India. If HSC was somehow affiliated or connected to any of these groups in India, none of us knew about it or got a whiff of it, growing, at any time. For us, HSC was simply a space where we all Hindus of all backgrounds and all communities, and even those that weren't Hindus but were interested in religions and philosophies of India, could meet and learn about Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism along from each other and together, right? We discussed everything under the sun and did events in all cultural groups, all cultural settings, including the Pakistani Association, Islamic Students Association, and Indian Subcontinental Club. And so this to me was a very important moment, because right after 9/11, right, there was this huge backlash against the Islamic community, against our Muslim brothers and sisters. So what we did, we led a coalition. This was done by HSC, right? And I was the president at this time, and a lot of us, we led a coalition to fight against the hate against our Muslim brothers and sisters, and for love and compassion. We held a vigil. We did a massive event to really protect and support our brothers and sisters. It was my time at HSC that drove me to want to learn Sanskrit, to do an education abroad in India, where I spent a year learning. I got funded to write, a paper on Hindutva, and I did research on the ground, interviewing people, talking to people. It was just a really beautiful time where HSC gave me that experience. So, why does any of my life experience or my comments on any of these things matter? I think it matters because it represents more about us than what others say about us, right? As Hindus. I remember something my father used to tell me when we watched Ben-Hur or Ten Commandments or The Greatest Story Ever Told. I would ask, why didn't we learn about this? Or why do they have different beliefs? And he would respond, Bhagavan comes to each of us, each person, each group differently, based on what they need or want. And he thought they were all Hindus too, just following different paths. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with that, but I do think from a Hindu perspective, there is some truth to that, right? We are all trying to pursue the path of discovering truth and searching for meaning. To me, I believe Hinduism gives us the most comprehensive path, allowing for that diversity in searching and discovering. It is in learning and discovering Hinduism more and more that I find myself caring more and more for our fellow beings, not just humans, but all beings. Finding strength in my identity in a multifaceted understanding of Satya, Rita, and Dharma. People ask generally, what is Hinduism? And I think in a nutshell, I can sum it up as this. Abhayam Satyam Samshuddhir Jnana Yoga Vavastita Dhyanam Damsha Yagnischa Svadhyaya Tapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akroda Yaga Shanti Tapeshunam Daya Bhuteshvalopatvam Mardhavam Hirachapanam Tejak Shamar Dritish Saucham adroho natima mana. Avanti sampadam devim abhijatasya bharat. So this is from the Gita, chapter 16, verse 1-3. And basically what this says is, without fear, situated in a pure heart and indiscriminatory wisdom of the world, charity, self-control, engaging in yajna, study, austerities, steadfastness and in righteousness, non-violence, truth, non-anger, renunciation, peace, non-judgment of others, compassion for all beings, without greed, gentleness, modesty, and determination in action. O scion of Bharata, which is Arjuna, energetic in nature, forgiveness of others, resilience in self, inner and outer cleanliness, without negativity to any being, lack of pride, arrogance, all of these 26 qualities arise in one who's born or on the path of the devas, the divine nature, the deva sampati, right? This is what Hinduism asks of us and teaches us. This is what Hinduism is about. This is the battle, what Hinduphobia is about. Understanding the core of Hinduism, that the core of Hinduism isn't caste, it isn't division, it isn't reactive behavior, it isn't fear, it isn't ignorance, it isn't misogyny, it isn't oppression. Do these behaviors exist in Hinduism? Yes, they do. That is because human beings are Hindu. The world isn't, and nor will it ever be, a perfect place. It is messy, dirty, painful, and as Buddhism and Hinduism say, it's a place of dukkha, suffering, sadness. Hinduism doesn't shy away from grappling with these issues, and neither should we. The Mahabharata struggles with and grapples with these problems and never finds any easy solution. So neither should we look for that or expect that. Let's acknowledge the issues that exist and address them. Hinduphobia is a problem and will remain one, but we can fight it. We fight it with what we're doing in this conference right now. We fight it by learning more about the Shastras and our traditions. We fight it with the 26 qualities and virtues that Krishna lays out in chapter 16 of the Gita. Hinduism gives us the tools, the skills, means, and the mindset to engage in this. It is up to us to do that hard work in ourselves so that we come from a place of knowledge and strength, but not a place of anger and frustration. And we need to help others like Hindu, Parth, and the esteemed speakers today to move that needle towards Satya, Nyaya, and Dharma. So let me just end with this last thing, and this is from the Rig Veda, 10th Mandala, verse 91. Samano mantraha samitihi samani, samanam manaha sahachittamesham, samanam mantra avimantra yevaha, samanenavo havishajhomi, samaniva akutihi, samana hridayanivaha, samanam astuvo mano, yatavaha susaha sati. So this is how it ends. Let our speech become one. Our voices unite. Let our minds join together with the thoughts of the wise. Together we share our purpose and worship as one. Let our goal be one and focused. Our hearts joined together, united in our thoughts, together in peace and harmony with all. So namaste. Thank you for taking the time, coming to this conference, and let's all work together to improve the world around us and fight this issue of Hinduphobia and bring out the truth of Hinduism. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste, Mukundji. Thank you so much for your insightful comments. And by the way, you are very, very much worthy of speaking today. We sincerely appreciate your support.
For the latest on our YouTube channel, click subscribe and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. Remember to like, comment, and share our videos. For more about HSC, you can visit the social media handles listed below.